Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The room felt different the moment I saw it. His fingers curled gently around her hand, holding on just a heartbeat longer than comfort allowed. It wasn't obvious, not enough for anyone else to notice, but I did. I always did. A quiet spark passed between them, soft and dangerous, like a secret trying to breathe. My smile stayed in place, polite and practiced. Yet something inside me shifted, a small crack in the perfect picture I thought we were living. She laughed at something he said, her voice light, her eyes warm, and his gaze lingered just a little too long. Not guilt, not innocence. Something in between, something unspoken. Around us the evening flowed normally. Glasses clinked, conversations blended, soft music wrapped the room. But beneath it all I felt a current pulling us toward something unknown. Something we had never named yet somehow always feared. Later that night the air had changed. We sat closer than before, four people bound by years of friendship and quiet familiarity, yet everything felt new, fragile, alive. My husband spoke, her voice answered, but I barely heard the words. Because across from me her husband shifted closer, his presence warm, steady, unsettling in a way I couldn't explain. And then it happened, our eyes met. No words, no movement, just a look that lasted long enough to ask a question neither of us dared to speak aloud. Was it curiosity, loneliness, or the silent echo of something we had both been denying for far too long? I felt it in the stillness, the awareness of him, the awareness of myself, the awareness of invisible lines we had never crossed until now, when they suddenly didn't feel so solid anymore. My heart didn't race, not wildly, but slowly, deeply, like a door opening in the dark. He didn't smile, neither did I. Yet something passed between us, undeniable and quiet, like a secret agreement written without ink. Across the room our partners laughed together, unaware or maybe pretending to be. And for the first time I wondered if they had felt this shift too. If somewhere between stolen glances and lingering touches the boundaries of what we were and what we could become had already begun to change. The night grew softer, heavier, filled with things unsaid. No one moved away. No one broke the silence that wasn't really silence at all. It was a pause, the kind that comes before something irreversible. A moment suspended between loyalty and longing, comfort and curiosity, love and the dangerous possibility of more. And as his shoulder brushed mine lightly, almost accidentally, I didn't pull away, because deep down I knew he hadn't either, and in that fragile, trembling stillness, something shifted forever. His shoulder remained close to mine, not touching anymore, yet I could still feel the warmth he had left behind, like a trace the night refused to erase. No one spoke for a moment. The room was quiet, but not empty. It was filled with breathing, with thoughts, with the fragile weight of something slowly unfolding. I should have moved. I knew that. A simple shift, a polite excuse, a return to the safe rhythm of what life had always been. But my body didn't listen. And when I finally looked at him again, he was already watching me, not boldly, not recklessly, but carefully, like someone standing at the edge of a line they weren't sure they should cross. "You're quiet tonight," he said softly. His voice wasn't heavy, wasn't suggestive, just warm, calm, yet somehow it reached deeper than it should have. I smiled faintly, folding my hands in my lap, trying to steady the wave moving inside me. "Just tired," I replied, though we both knew it wasn't the truth. Across the room laughter drifted between our partners, light and careless. It sounded distant now, like it belonged to another world, one untouched by this growing silent pull between us. He leaned back slightly but not away, still close, still present. "Funny," he murmured, "how sometimes everything looks the same but feels completely different." The words settled between us. I didn't answer immediately, because answering meant acknowledging, and acknowledging meant facing what I had been trying not to name. "I know what you mean," I whispered at last. Our eyes met again, longer this time, not questioning, not denying, just understanding. The air felt warmer, or maybe it was just me. A small moment passed, one of those fragile seconds where nothing happens yet everything changes. His hand moved slightly on the couch, resting closer to mine. Not touching. Just near enough for awareness to spark. My breath slowed, then deepened. My heart steady but heavy, like it knew something my mind was still trying to resist. This wasn't wrong, but it wasn't simple either. Because across from us sat the people we had built lives with, laughter, memories, promises, everything real, everything true. And yet here we were, suspended in a quiet space between loyalty and longing. "What are you thinking?" he asked, almost hesitant now. I exhaled slowly, that some moments feel bigger than they should. He didn't smile, But his eyes softened as if he understood exactly. Or maybe, he said gently, they feel bigger because we finally notice them. My fingers shifted slightly, brushing the fabric beside his hand, close enough for tension to hum but not close enough to touch. A silent electricity, a choice waiting to be made or avoided. From across the room her voice called his name. He didn't turn immediately, neither did I. Instead we remained there, caught in a glance, in a pause, in something delicate and dangerous. Not a betrayal, not yet, just awareness. Just the quiet knowledge that something had awakened between us, something neither of us had planned, yet neither of us seemed ready to push away. I began, though the words faded. He nodded, but didn't move. Yeah, he said softly. Maybe, but neither of us stood, because sometimes the strongest moments aren't the loud ones. They are the quiet ones, where hearts speak without permission, where eyes confess what lips refuse, where a single inch of distance feels heavier than 1,000 miles. The night deepened around us, slow and breathing, wrapping the room in shadows and soft light. Our partners were still talking, still laughing, unaware or maybe choosing not to see. And here in this fragile stillness, the tension didn't break. It grew, not wild, not reckless, but steady, certain, alive. And when his fingers finally shifted, just enough for the back of his hand to lightly brush mine, neither of us pulled away. Not yet, because something had started, and neither of us knew where it would lead. The silence between us deepened, not empty but full, thick with everything neither of us dared to say. His hand remained near mine, warm, steady, familiar in a way it had no right to feel. I could sense his breathing, slow and controlled, yet beneath it was something restless, something waiting. I should have pulled away sooner. Instead my fingers shifted, barely grazing his for the briefest moment. A spark, soft but undeniable, not accidental, not fully intentional either. Just enough to reveal what we had both been trying to hide. And then he stilled, not moving closer, not retreating, just holding that fragile space between us like glass that could shatter if touched too firmly. Across the room their laughter softened into conversation, quieter now, slower. The night was settling, wrapping us all in a hush that made every small movement louder, every glance heavier. You feel it too, he said quietly. It wasn't a question. My breath caught, not because I didn't understand but because I did. Completely. Yes, I admitted, almost a whisper. The word hung in the air between us, fragile and powerful. A confession without details, a truth without permission. For a moment neither of us looked away. His eyes searched mine, not boldly, not carelessly, but deeply, like he was trying to understand how something so quiet could feel so overwhelming. And in that look I saw it. The same conflict twisting inside me. The same pull, the same hesitation. We weren't reckless people. We were careful, loyal, grounded in lives we had built piece by piece, promises spoken in softer days, trust layered through years of shared mornings and quiet nights. And yet here we were, caught in something neither planned, something neither seemed able to escape. His fingers shifted again, closer now, almost touching. My heart pounded once, heavy and slow. He leaned in slightly, not enough to cross the line, just enough for the air between us to tighten. I could feel the warmth of him, the unspoken question, the fragile gravity of a moment balanced between restraint and surrender. And for one suspended second, I almost leaned in too, almost, but something inside me pulled back, not fear, not regret, but awareness. Of consequences, of history, of the invisible threads tying all four of us together in ways too complex to ignore. I turned my face slightly, breaking the spell. Not rejection, protection. He understood immediately. I saw it in the way his shoulders softened, in the quiet breath he released, in the space he gave me without resentment. This isn't simple, I murmured. No, he agreed gently. It isn't, but neither of us moved away completely, because distance would have been easier and neither of us seemed ready for easy. A shadow crossed the room as our partners shifted, their voices drifting closer again. Reality, returning softly but firmly. The world we belonged to, the life we knew. Yet even with them so near, the silence between us remained alive, charged with something unfinished, something unresolved. Have you ever wondered, he said quietly, eyes still not leaving mine, how one moment can change everything without anything really happening? I swallowed softly. Yes, because I knew this moment would stay long after tonight ended, long after the room emptied, long after we returned to the safe routines of who we were supposed to be. Some feelings don't disappear, they wait. His hand moved once more, a faint brush against mine, and this time I didn't move, didn't react, didn't look away. Not encouragement, not refusal, just truth. We both wanted this, and maybe that was exactly why we couldn't have it. The weight of that realization settled quietly between us. Heavy, bittersweet, real. Not breaking the connection but deepening it into something more complicated. Something neither of us could easily forget. From across the room her voice called again. Softer now, closer. The night was moving forward, whether we were ready or not. He finally leaned back slightly, though his gaze lingered a moment longer. Not goodbye, not surrender, just pause. And as I sat there feeling the echo of his presence still wrapped around me, I understood something with quiet certainty. Some boundaries aren't broken in a moment. They are tested slowly, silently, until one day they no longer feel like boundaries at all. And tonight we had come closer than ever before. Not crossing, not turning away, just standing at the edge together. The night had grown quieter, deeper, the kind of silence that doesn't empty a room but fills it with everything unsaid. The world around us continued softly, distant voices, the faint hum of evening, the slow passing of time. Yet none of it reached where we sat. Because something between us had changed again. Not suddenly, not loudly, but undeniably. He was closer now, not by movement but by presence, like the space between us had dissolved without permission. I could feel the warmth of him beside me, steady, calm on the surface, yet beneath it lived the same restless pull echoing inside my chest. Neither of us spoke. Words felt too small for what this was becoming. My fingers rested on the couch, still yet aware. Aware of his hand only inches away. Aware of the fragile gravity pulling them closer without touch. My breathing slowed, but it wasn't calm. It was heavy, full, like something inside me was waiting for a moment I didn't fully understand. Then, quietly he spoke. Tell me to move away. The words were soft, almost lost in the air, yet they landed deep. I didn't answer, because I couldn't, because I didn't want to. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was alive. Electric, trembling, fragile. A confession without language. A truth without permission. His hand shifted, slowly, carefully, until his fingers finally touched mine. Not grasping, not pulling, just touching. And in that simple, quiet contact, everything changed. A warmth spread through me, not sudden, not overwhelming, but deep, steady, real. Like a door inside me had opened without sound. My fingers didn't move away. They didn't tighten either. They simply stayed resting against his, acknowledging what neither of us had dared to say. My heart pounded once, heavy and slow. He exhaled softly, not relief, not victory, just recognition. You don't know how long I've been trying not to feel this, he whispered. The words wrapped around the silence, fragile yet undeniable. I swallowed, my voice barely there. I thought it was only me. His fingers shifted slightly against mine, not holding, not letting go, just present, grounding, real. The room felt warmer now. Or maybe it was just us suspended in a moment where time seemed to slow, where everything outside this space faded into shadow. Across the room, faint movement, a voice. Reality still there, reminding us of the lives waiting beyond this fragile bubble. But neither of us moved, because this moment mattered, because this moment was real. He turned slightly toward me, not crossing the line, just close enough for the air between us to tighten. I could feel his breath, steady yet heavy, like he too was standing on the edge of something neither of us fully understood. If things were different, he began, then stopped. The unfinished sentence hung between us, louder than any confession. I closed my eyes briefly, feeling the weight of it, the truth of it, the impossible gravity of something both beautiful and dangerous. They aren't, I whispered. I know, but he didn't move away. And neither did I. Because sometimes knowing isn't enough to stop feeling. His thumb brushed lightly against my hand, a small movement, yet it sent a quiet tremor through me. Not fire, not chaos. Something deeper, something softer, something real. And for a moment, just one fragile suspended moment, it felt like we had crossed a line without moving at all. My breath caught. His fingers tightened slightly, not possession, not urgency, just emotion, raw and unguarded. I don't want to lose what we have, I said softly, though my voice trembled. Neither do I. Silence again, heavy, alive, unfinished. Across the room, footsteps shifted closer, voices returning, reality pressing gently at the edges of our fragile space. And slowly, reluctantly, his fingers loosened. Not breaking the connection, just pausing it. His hand remained against mine for one last second longer, long enough to say everything words couldn't hold. then stillness. No distance, no goodbye. Just two hearts racing quietly, standing at the edge of something that hadn't happened yet, felt like it already had. And in that fragile electric silence, everything waited. The night unfolded slowly like a secret finally exhaling after being held too long. Outside, rain began to fall, soft at first, then steady, tracing silver lines down the glass, wrapping the world in a quiet hush. The room was dim, washed in warm amber light that blurred edges and softened everything it touched. Voices had faded, footsteps had disappeared, and somehow, without a clear moment of decision, it was just the two of us standing in the stillness. Close, too close to pretend nothing had changed. For a long moment neither of us spoke. The air between us felt alive, trembling with everything we had held back for so long. Every glance, every silence, every almost. My heart beat slowly, heavily, like it understood this moment was different. Irreversible. You feel it too, he murmured again, softer than before, not asking, not doubting. I nodded faintly. There was no more distance left to hide behind. The rain deepened outside, its rhythm steady and intimate, like the world itself was breathing slower with us. He stepped closer, careful, hesitant, as if giving me time to stop him. But I didn't. Because the truth was no longer something we could avoid. It lived between us now, warm and undeniable. His hand lifted, not urgent, not demanding, just gentle, brushing against mine before resting lightly at my wrist. The touch was simple, yet it sent a quiet warmth through me, steady and deep. My breath trembled, not from fear but from the weight of finally letting go of restraint. We shouldn't, I whispered, but the words had no strength, because my body hadn't moved away, because neither had his. The storm outside softened into a steady hush, and inside time seemed to slow, stretching this moment into something fragile and endless. He moved closer still, until the space between us dissolved completely. I could feel the warmth of him, the calm rise and fall of his breath, the quiet tremor beneath his composure. And then gently his forehead rested against mine. No rush, no force, just closeness. My eyes closed and the world faded into warmth and breath and the silent language of presence. My hand lifted without thinking, resting lightly against him, not pulling, not resisting, just meeting him halfway. Their words were gone now, only feeling remained. His breath mingled with mine, slow and deep, and in that quiet exchange something inside me softened, something that had been guarded for so long, not wild, not reckless, just real, just human. The rain traced steady rhythms against the glass. The soft light wrapped around us, and the world outside disappeared completely. In that fragile stillness, our bodies spoke the words we had never dared to say. Not loudly, not desperately, but honestly. A quiet surrender to a moment that had been waiting for us long before we understood it. His hand rested against my back, warm and steady, grounding me in something deeper than thought. My breath trembled once, then steadied, melting into the rhythm of him, into the shared silence that felt fuller than any conversation. No promises were spoken, no futures imagined, just this moment, this closeness, this quiet, breathtaking truth. Time passed, or maybe it paused, neither of us knowing, neither of us needing to know. Because some moments aren't meant to be measured, they are meant to be felt. And in that soft, rain-wrapped stillness, we finally let go. Not of who we were, but of the walls we had built between what we felt and what we allowed ourselves to feel. And though the night held us gently, tenderly like a secret, we both knew nothing would ever be the same again. Morning arrived quietly, not with brightness but with a soft gray light that slipped through the curtains like a question waiting to be answered. I woke before the world did. For a moment I didn't move. The night still lived inside me, not in images, not in actions but in feeling. Warmth, closeness, the quiet surrender of two hearts that had stopped resisting. It hadn't been chaos, it hadn't been wild, it had been real, and that made everything harder. The rain had stopped, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than the storm itself. I sat up slowly, the cool air brushing against my skin, grounding me in the reality of morning. Thoughts came gently at first, then all at once. What had we done? What had it meant? Was it love, or simply a moment of escape from lives that had grown too familiar, too quiet, too safe? I pressed my fingers to my temple, exhaling slowly. There was no regret in the way my heart remembered him, only confusion, only weight, only a deep aching awareness that something between us had changed forever. A soft sound behind me. I turned slightly. He was awake too, not moving, not speaking, just watching, the same calm presence yet different now, deeper, more fragile. As if the night had stripped away the space we once hid behind. Neither of us smiled, but neither of us looked away. "Morning," he said quietly. His voice carried something new. Not distance, not closeness. Something in between. Something human. "Morning," I replied, my voice softer than I expected. Silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with questions neither of us knew how to ask. "How do you feel?" he said finally. I thought about it. Not the moment, not the choice, but the feeling left behind. "Honest," I whispered, and scared. He nodded slowly as if the words mirrored his own. "Me too." A fragile understanding passed between us. Deeper than the night, deeper than the silence that had once held us apart. Whatever this was, it wasn't simple anymore. It wasn't just tension or curiosity. It was connection. And connection always comes with consequence. A sudden sound broke the stillness. A knock at the door. Sharp, unexpected. My heart skipped. We looked at each other, not fear, not panic, but awareness. The world returning. Reality, asking questions we weren't ready to answer. The knock came again. He stood first, steady but quiet, and moved toward the door. I remained still, my thoughts racing softly beneath the calm surface I tried to hold. The door opened, and there they were, our partners, standing side by side, not angry, not shocked, just quiet. The room filled with something heavy, not accusation, not denial, but truth. A truth none of us spoke aloud, yet all of us seemed to understand. Her eyes met mine, searching, gentle, almost knowing. His voice broke the silence. "We wondered where you were." Simple words, but beneath them layers. Years of friendship, trust, unspoken awareness. The fragile, complicated web connecting all four of us in ways none of us had fully understood, until now. No one moved, no one explained, because sometimes truth doesn't need words. I looked at him, at the man who now stood not across from me but beside me, in something deeper than before. There was no regret in his eyes, only thought, only quiet acceptance of what had happened and what would follow. And strangely, beneath the weight, beneath the uncertainty, there was peace. Not because things were easy, but because they were real. Messy, human, unfinished. The morning light grew stronger, filling the room with soft clarity. Nothing was hidden now, not feelings, not choices, not consequences. And as we stood there, caught between what had been and what would come next, one truth settled quietly in my heart. The night had changed us, not broken us, not defined us, but awakened something deeper, something none of us could ignore anymore. And whatever came next, we would face it, knowing the silence between us was no longer empty. It was alive. The morning did not rush us. It unfolded slowly, like a fragile truth learning how to breathe in daylight. No one raised their voice. No one demanded answers. The silence between the four of us was not empty, it was full of recognition, of things felt long before they were understood. We had crossed something invisible, and now we stood together, not as strangers, not as enemies, but as people facing the delicate weight of what the heart sometimes chooses without permission. Days passed gently after that morning. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just quiet reflection, long walks alone, soft conversations, glances that held questions words could not shape. The world did not fall apart, but something inside each of us shifted, like the tide pulling back before settling into a new rhythm. One evening, as the sun melted into soft gold, I found him standing by the balcony, the same quiet presence, the same steady calm, yet different now. Not distant, not searching, just certain. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, stepping beside him. The air was warm, peaceful, touched by the hush of ending light. "I think so," I said. "It wasn't a mistake." He looked at me then deeply, gently, not with longing, not with regret, but with understanding. "No," he replied, "it wasn't, because what had happened between us had never been about escape. It had been about truth, raw, complicated, human truth. Two hearts meeting in a moment of honesty neither had expected, neither had planned, yet neither had denied. But truth does not always mean forever, and sometimes love is not about holding on. It is about letting go gently. "I don't want to break what we already have," I whispered. He exhaled slowly, as if he had known those words were coming long before I spoke them. "Neither do I." The wind moved softly between us, carrying the quiet weight of understanding. There was no pain in his eyes, only warmth, only respect, only the quiet acceptance of something beautiful that had come and now needed to rest. My hand found his, not tightly, not desperately, just softly, like a memory taking shape. "Thank you," I said, my voice trembling slightly, "for being real with me." He smiled, faint, calm, genuine. "Always." For a moment neither of us moved. The world seemed to slow again, not with tension this time but with peace. The kind of peace that comes when hearts stop fighting truth and simply accept it. He lifted his hand gently, brushing a strand of hair from my face, a quiet, tender gesture, then leaned forward, resting his lips softly against my forehead. No rush, no fire, just warmth, closure. A silent promise that what we had shared would never be erased but would not be allowed to destroy what still mattered. I closed my eyes, letting the moment settle deep inside me, not as longing, not as loss, but as something softer. Something lasting, a memory that would linger like perfume in the air long after the night had passed. We stepped apart slowly, not strangers, not lovers. Just two souls who had met, understood, and chosen peace. Across the room life waited, familiar, steady, real. Our partners, our shared history, the quiet world we had built over years of trust and care. And for the first time since that night, my heart felt calm. Because love does not always mean possession. Sometimes love is simply understanding and choosing what protects more than what it desires. As the sun faded completely and evening wrapped the sky in soft blue, I looked back once more. He was still there watching, peaceful, and in his eyes I saw no regret. Only gratitude, only quiet goodbye, and in that gentle ending I understood, some stories are not meant to burn forever. Some are meant to glow softly in the hidden corners of the heart. And though the night had changed us, it had not broken us. It had only shown us who we truly were. And sometimes, that is enough.